What's a good word, Josh? Your boy DKB here. In light of the major contracts that we've seen get issued out here in the last week or so, it got me thinking about the New York Jets situation. And I know we're all in this year and all of this great stuff, but I have to kind of have that eye on the future, if you will, when it comes to our situation. And looking at a lot of these contract numbers, it's absolutely insane what some of these non-quarterback related players are getting. And we always knew that we would get to this place. The NFL salary cap continues to grow immensely, and just the nature of, I guess capitalism if in and of itself, if you will, but players consistently evolving, outdoing not only just themselves, but others, etc., etc. You're going to see these numbers continue to rise. But now you're talking about, with the rise of Justin Jefferson, you're starting to get these mid-tier quarterback-like numbers, right? I think when I was listening to some kind of podcast, doesn't necessarily matter per se, right? It might have been a PFF one. Justin Jefferson now ranks, I think, as something like the 14th. He'd be like the 14th highest paid quarterback or something. He's in between Baker Mayfield and some other player, right? But Justin Jefferson's contract, 4 years, $140 million, $35 million per year. I believe he had $110 million in guarantees. Is mind-blowing. How are the Jets going to be able to wrap their minds around this, right? You take a look at some other key players that are essentially topping the market at their positions, and the picture doesn't get any better, right? Christian McCaffrey, the running back, just getting his brand new extension. Again, 2 years, $38 million, giving him $19 million per year. You want to take a look at the cornerbacks, Jaire Alexander, who many would have considered being in the top tier group of cornerbacks. He's leading the way with his 4 years, $84 million deal, at least from a per year and guarantee expected, right? $21 million per year. $30 million guaranteed. And then you take a look at nickel or slot type cornerbacks, specifically Teron Johnson essentially leading the way there with $10.25 million per year, $16.65 million guaranteed. And to put this in perspective, because a lot of these numbers are a little bit ridiculous, 8 cornerbacks are making at least $30 million or more in guarantees on their contract. 15 running backs are making over $5 million per year. That number isn't as crazy as, of course, some of these other positions, but we know how drastically that position has been devalued. And then in addition to that, you did see an uptick in veterans getting some more contracts than you usually expect, with the expectation that this running back market in the 2024 NFL draft wasn't as great as what you generally would find. And then you take a look at the wide receivers. You have 15 wide receivers making at least or over $50 million in guarantees. Now, we mentioned the salary cap jumping, right? You have in 2022, we were at $208.2 million. It jumps up by about 16. 2023, we see $224.8 million, and then in 2024, we're working with a $255.4 million salary cap, so just around $30 million in an increase. And I heard there was a lot of stuff in terms of the marketing deals and how those restructuring stuff that parlayed into that. But generally speaking, you're probably going to be seeing about 16 to, let's say, $25 million as an increase per year. And even with us having somewhere between a 30 and 40 to 50-ish million dollar increase in, let's just say, the next 2 years, the Jets arguably top 2 best players on our roster. Sauce Gardner being essentially the undeniable number 1. Number 2 is more pick your poison, but it's essentially Garrett Wilson, or it's going to be Breece Hall in many people's eyes in terms of weapons. If you want to go with Garrett Wilson, you're looking at what Justin Jefferson and them did, you're talking about potentially having over $100 million in just the guaranteed money that we're talking about between two players. It's roughly around 30% or so of the NFL salary cap. That'll probably be sitting somewhere around, let's say, 280 million in 2 years, and these are both going to be guys that are eligible for contract extensions by the end of this season. So I say all that to say it behooves the Jets to really start taking a look at getting a deal done now, especially in Garrett Wilson's favor. You can see the most savings you're ever going to see if you can lock him in with an extension next year. If he wants to bet on himself, if the Jets need to slow play the money, whatever the situation is, this isn't going to work out in the New York Jets' favor, right? They may still love the guy. He may still perform up even to his insane new contract. But we're expecting a career year out of the man if we can get a full season out of Aaron Rodgers. He's already had arguably the best and hardest back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons that you can get. He's worked with 7+ quarterbacks in his short tenure already, a offensive coaching staff that has essentially had no answers for 2 years now, and so there's a lot working in his favor. Maybe not from a statistical standpoint, but when it comes to how much this New York Jets franchise would need him in this building, the volume, speaks for itself. I think I also saw something crazy like he's the only NFL receiver in the first 2 years to have 300 plus targets in his career. I've heard that used as more so a negative, that he's a bit overrated given the numbers he put up has been, but we know how much he means to this offense, right? Then you also take a look at Sauce Gardner. Now, the market there isn't absolutely ridiculous, right? But you're still talking about the Jalen Ramseys of the world. He's going to have to go out there and compete with the likes of Pat Surtain, right, for that top dollar market. But the cornerbacks are no different from these wide receivers. You're going to see Sauce Gardner or a Pat Surtain or a guy like Charvarius Ward with the 49ers get that premium non-quarterback money, and you could easily be looking at a $30 million plus mark for them again on average as well. And I fully expect the way Sauce Gardner has played, a face of the NFL league type of persona. We know what he's meant to our defense. He's essentially placed first or second in every major analytical metric that you can really put on an Excel sheet. And then obviously he's paired with the rest of that defense, but his performance has spoken for itself. So I'm trying to think about this, right? Because we're only talking about two players, and if you wanted to put a small list of guys that can get some big money contracts coming down the road, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and you're looking at that Christian McCaffrey contract. For those that are saying that Breece Hall is essentially the second best running back in the league right now, and you have to be scared that we're not going to get anywhere close to agreeing to that kind of money. Michael Carter II, right? He just pulled up on the list, and I think this was PFF as well, but he just pulled up on the list as one of the top 10 cornerbacks in the NFL, coming in at, I believe, number 9, essentially the first or second best nickel cornerback in the league, right? And a lot of people argue if Teron Johnson's better or not. And the likes of a guy like Trent McDuffie with the season he just had, coming off that Super Bowl ring in the slot. So a lot of concern there as well. Then you also have Quincy Williams, who, yes, got a minor extension deal, but nothing like what he could get based on what we've seen out of him having an all-pro season. And then you also have Tony Adams, right? He, I believe, is finishing up the third year this year of his unrestricted free agent contract, and he hasn't blown anybody away in terms of the numbers that he's put up. When you want to just talk about a starter, obviously he's excelled as an undrafted free agent, but if he can go out there and find a way to increase his turnover total, or he just becomes a top performer at his position from an overall perspective, you're talking about having to get him a ridiculous contract. Excuse me. Talking about having to give him a ridiculous contract as well. So wrap your guys, get the wallets prepared, guys. I expect a lot of difficult conversations coming up for the New York Jets. A lot of oddity in our off seasons, right? We already have one right now with Hassan Reddick going on, and I don't think it's necessarily a contract holdout, right? I just think it's a situation where you could throw out him getting his life together. You can, put the fact that, yes, he does want a new contract. Obviously, there's a bit of that consistency in the long money that he's going to want. I don't think he'll get it from us. I think we play this out the way a lot of us expect. We're going to use him this year, try to get us our chip. And then ultimately we'll show him the door and hope we can get our comp pick, right? And we don't even have to worry about the compensation because we traded a 2026 for him. And hopefully that ends up being a third rounder instead of a second. Nonetheless, though, let me know what you guys think. Where are you at in this? Who would you prioritize when it comes to these major contracts? Are you going to try to just retain as many guys as you can, or are you going to select the best of the bunch in a Sauce Gardner and a combination of a Garrett Wilson or a Breece Hall or whoever else steps up to you, right? Maybe you want to try to keep your trio together in Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, for example, and MC2. Who knows? It's a lot of different ways to slice up this economical pie, but there's going to be money bags getting tossed out in Florham Park soon. So let me know what you guys' thoughts are, and I'll catch you again. Peace.